All right, folks. Welcome to this live session on the ACA-920. A quick apology. I'm tinkering with my setup. I spent a lot of time over the break improving or trying to improve what I'm doing. And I've been furiously fighting and struggling with my tech stack over here to make things work. So if you can give me a quick thumbs up that you can hear me, I would really appreciate that. Thank you, Justin. Chris, thank you for saying this hasn't started yet. Folks, if I'm more than 1 minute late, please start shouting at me in the chat, just in case. I do my best to start a little bit early. I've been frantically plugging in cables and unplugging cables. But enough about my problems. I need to fire my IT guy. It's finally here. My name is Rob. Quick way of introduction. I spent my whole career in IT. I was the guy who would come and help computers, so I really need an IT support person to help me out. If anyone's an expert with OBS and how to stream, please reach out. I've been using Atlassian products since 2013, and I started my career on a support desk. I never had training, though. I was simply shown how to do things as I went. And then when I learned Jira, I had to learn by doing. So I had to figure it out kind of on my own. That worked for me. I was able to make that happen, but I realized that many people that doesn't work for. So that's why I do these sessions. I'm now a professional instructor and content creator. I hold almost every certification Atlassian offers, but I want to help all of you avoid that frustration. And enough about Rob. Let's skip ahead because I was a few minutes late. Interaction, please use the chat. It should be that way. Many of you have found it. Thank you. I'll also put polls in the chat. There's one right now just asking about where you're from. This has helped to gauge interest and keep you engaged. But you can just click on those to answer them. There'll be up to 4 answers. I can't do 5. It's YouTube. And I have to type them all out manually. So it takes me a minute to put them in. Welcome from Colorado. And we've got folks from all over here. I think I saw someone from Halifax, which is the extreme eastern side of North America. Welcome. Please also like and subscribe. I do this professionally. My job is to help instruct, and I do that on my own. I'm self-employed, hence the joke about firing my IT guy. That's me. So easiest way you can support me, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. That helps other people find it and keeps you updated on everything. I have changed how I do these sessions quite a bit. One of the biggest differences is this thing right under my head that I'll talk about as we go. But I am expanding and working on improving your learning opportunities. So please be on the lookout for those. Subscribing will help you get them. A quick agenda. Now, this is focused on the ACA-920. This is the exam designation for the Jira Service Management Agent Essentials certification that Atlassian offers. Now, each of these sessions will cover part of that. I've got a review session at the end, but today we're going to start with concepts, and we'll also go back and forth into Jira. This will be a common theme that we do. One of the concepts we're going to talk about is your why. Why are you choosing to pursue this exam? This is important, and I'll talk more about this, but this will keep you motivated. This will drive you to keep learning and doing even when it gets boring or hard or challenging. But then we'll dig into what even is Jira Service Management, some basic stuff and use cases. And I'll bounce back and forth between slides and then hands-on in Jira Cloud Premium. So I'm using Jira Cloud for this, and I'm using the premium one. The biggest change between cloud standard and free, or premium and free, you might see Rovo and some other features. So your why. You do not have to share your why, but this is why you are here right now. I woke up at 6 o'clock to get ready for this and was a little bit late because my computer was being a pain, but I'm motivated to help all of you. So take a minute and just think about, why are you doing this? There is no wrong answer. I'm just going to put some ideas in here in a poll, but take a minute right now to think about it. If you have paper and a pen near you, grab it, and when you think you know what your why is, write it down. One reason is validation, right? Like, you just want to prove you know what you know. This is a great one, and this is one of the reasons I did them. Another is to build skills. As I learned Jira, I realized there's a ton I don't know, and I didn't know it because I was never trained. So this helps me fill out my skill gaps. Now, you also might choose to get one of these because you want a promotion or a job. That is perfectly valid. That is an okay reason to want to do this. But regardless of the reason, if you know what it is, it then makes it much easier to come back and put in the time, effort, and energy to go earn the certification. Now, we'll also point out, you do not have to want to earn the certification to benefit from these sessions. You will still get good skills that will help you use Jira better. I like Susan's answer. I teach agents and want to make sure I'm solid with capabilities. So that's another reason, right? I also took these certifications so when I speak to all of you, I know what I'm talking about and I can help you better. So take a minute, figure it out. It might take a while. Like it took me more than 5 minutes, more than the time I'm giving you to know my why, but then put it on a bit of paper, write it down, and put it on your monitor, and just remind yourself every so often. Maureen is also saying our why gets us to the how. So if you're a fan of Simon Sinek, the why is the core of everything. Then how do you do it? We kind of skipped the why, so we're going back to revisit it. Your how is join these sessions, or could be. It also helps to share your why. Talk to your teammate about it. Talk to your partner. Talk to your family. Talk to your friends. Don't bore them too much. Why are you not entering my chat here? I also have a Discord community where you can come and share that why if you want. That Discord community is also a great place for support and sharing other information. So that's another option for your support as we go. Now, this QR code should be the same as that QR code. I have put together a free companion course. I will bring this code back in a minute, or it'll stay in the bottom right most of the time. But I spent time over the break building out a course that works with this live session. This course has things like quizzes. It has labs. It has breakdowns of sections. So this is entirely free. You can choose to use this or not. My thinking here is, based on a lot of feedback I got, Rob, we want takeaway stuff. We want homework, basically. So you can't blame anyone except yourselves for this. I say that jokingly. This is broken down by session. So here's our first session. This is live. Then we have one for next week and one for each one of these. This is intended to be done in conjunction or along with this live series, and they help support each other. So if you're looking for a bit more, check this out, entirely free. And I can't seem to paste into this. But that is another place and way you can go learn more about this stuff. It'll also show you how to get a free copy of Jira if you don't have one. Justin's a friend of the channel. He's been in a lot of these. His why for showing up is because I'm hosting it. I appreciate that, my friend. And it looks like most of us want to build our skills. Amazing. Again, there is no wrong why. All right. Now we're going to jump into more of what this course is. So just how comfortable are you with Jira Service Management? And a 1 is not a lot, and a 4 is going to be like ultra mega comfortable. Again, I can only have 4 options with YouTube. It's free. I'll take it. But here is our exam. So when we think of Jira Service Management, there's different people who use it. We're focusing on the agents, the people who work the tickets. This was the first job I had. I would get a ticket. I would go deliver a monitor. I've had similar jobs. I've also helped manage and build support desks. So I've helped manage and build out teams of agents. So like Susan, I had to figure out, how do I train them? How do I help support them? And that's what this exam covers. I will bring this breakdown up almost every session, but it's telling us when we go sit the exam, how much of it is what. For example, 40% is managing tickets. This makes sense because that's where mostly we spend our time, but we're not going to see things in here that admins would need. We're not going to have to figure out features or configure a workflow, etc. So the scope, the focus here is on the people doing the work, the day-to-day operations of it. This is also a great guide when you're studying for your exam, and I'll share more tips about that as we go. But if you're in a crunch, spend most of your time studying this, the least amount of your time studying this, because 40% of your questions will be about tickets. Now, there's some terminology we have to cover. Now, the term issue is what we used to call a work item, and this is just a ticket. Atlassian changed it. You'll hear me try to always use work item. I will slip up. You will also see the old terms in Atlassian and Jira. Space is now what we call a project. Keep in mind that when the exam was written, the old terms were in use. So if you go take this exam in 3 weeks, you're going to see issue and project, not work item and space. However, when you go in Jira, you'll see work item and space, not issue and project. So please just keep that in mind. I'll do my best to use the new terms as we go. I forget what I did in the companion course. You might see the new terms as well. Atlassian does refresh its exams over time, so eventually they'll catch up. Justin's asking, would this be beneficial to watch later? Another thing I am doing with this, my friends, I'll always do these live sessions for free. I've got the free companion course. I'm building out specific paid courses that are focused just on the content. Some of the feedback I get on live sessions is people don't like the chatter and me talking to people in chat. I completely get that. It's part of why I like doing them live, honestly. So I will have recorded things, Justin, and I'm happy to work with you to build out, like if you need specific stuff, we can figure out something. But these sessions can also be beneficial, and the companion course on its own could also be beneficial, entirely free. Now, Jira Service Management is, I can't even say it's a version of Jira, it's just Jira to help support teams. So if you're familiar with the concepts within Jira, the same things apply in JSM. There are just additional concepts because we're focused on how do we handle more operations. So it's really about the intake of requests and how can someone help support them. Mitch, no worries. The 620 is on Mondays, my friend. You're welcome to stay and learn, though. So why do we use JSM? Well, it gives our team a single source of truth. Now, many ticketing systems offer this. It also has a lot of collaboration features and a lot of visibility and flexibility. This is especially true if your organization also uses Jira for project management. And this has been my case, where when I work with someone, we've got the project teams in Jira building out a system, and then I've got to work with frontline teams who are taking in customer tickets and then reporting those back to engineering or product or someone else. You'll hear me use software teams as an example for Jira Service Management or Jira use, but keep in mind many different teams can use these systems, and we'll talk about this more as we go. My best example is when I learned JSM, it was with an HR team. 100,000 tickets coming in a year about benefits or policies or travel or whatever, handled by about 20 frontline agents. I'll share more of my experience as we go, but keep in mind that it doesn't just have to be software or bug reporting. Now, we're seeing more and more of this, and there's some features that won't be on the exam that they have started adding to make JSM just a source of truth. My goal when I use this system or any system is my agents can just go into Jira and that's everything they need. They can open a work item, Susan reports a bug, or maybe Mitch reports, hey, this isn't what I was looking for, and they can see related information. They can see it connected back to a Confluence article that can help them solve that request. They see it connected to other bugs this person has reported, etc. And this is important because when we think of our agents, the people doing the work, we want them focused on doing the work. They shouldn't have to spend their time digging through multiple places to go find an answer to a question or to help them out. And I love how we've got Susan and Justin sharing training tips. Please keep it up. Now, collaboration's a big one. JSM supports @mentioning. And this is really important for agents. A really important thing to remember is there are internal and external comments in JSM. This does not really exist on the Jira side. An internal external here refers to the customer. External comments are visible by customers, and that's someone who puts in the request. Internal comments are only available to the team. So this is where I would ask for help. I'd say maybe if Susan and Justin are working on a ticket for training, Justin would internally mention Susan and say, hey, what resources do you have that I can share with Rob for this? The customer doesn't see these. These are entirely invisible to them. They will see the public comments, though. Asha, if you could expand your question a bit, I'd love to help answer it. I'm not 100% sure following events, what you mean there. Now, it's also flexible. I've mentioned that not just software support teams can use it. When we go into Jira, I don't know if we cover this for the exam, but there are templated spaces. This means when a space is set up, your admin has options. They can go look through sales templates and build one out for selling products. They can look through one for IT and build one out for a support desk or incident response or many different things. So please keep in mind and open your thinking to different use cases for Jira Service Management. This is especially beneficial if your organization already happens to use JSM because you can get more power out of it by using it in more places. I tend to default to the IT options just because that's where I started my career, or to the HR options because that's where I spent most of my time. So please keep that in mind. But if you've got other examples you want me to explore, please let me know. And it looks like, the majority of us are a 1 or a 2. Most of us are a 3. When you're given usually it's a 10-point scale, the best advice I've been given is always say 7, because that indicates you know a lot, but you're not going to get challenged for knowing everything. I'm kind of joking. Most people picked a 3 here. That's a very clever answer because it means you're saying, hey, Rob, I know quite a bit, but I don't know everything. You're leaving room to grow. For the folks who said 1 or 2, thank you. Like, it can be hard to raise your hand and say, I don't know what's going on. All right, so that's some of the concepts. And we'll talk about some use cases as we go. But now it's a question just around navigation. And this seems kind of silly to ask if you're familiar with Jira. But this is something that I am still learning because I was never taught. For example, the search bar used to be hidden up in the top right. It used to be smaller than it is now. I didn't use it because I didn't know it was there. And that's a very simple, silly example. But understanding that we've got the nav bar at the top, we've got the sidebar at the side, and we've got our information in the middle is a really important concept. Now, I don't know. I forget when the 925 was last updated. It may not reference a sidebar, but some things it will reference, and I cropped them out of this screenshot oddly, is over here, notifications. So we will talk about notifications which show up in our navigation. Those are another very basic thing. I forget if they show up in a future session. I keep forgetting how important they are. But we will get questions around how and when is someone notified. So that's another seemingly basic concept that we want to keep in mind and be open to. And I see after I said that thing about a 3, I'm getting a lot of 3s. Yeah, perfect. Important reminder about the sidebar, and this may not show up on the exam. You can modify it. Each individual can hide or show things in here. Please tell your teams about this. That's a very easy takeaway tip. Like, go in and hide, I don't know, dashboards if you never use them. Get rid of teams if you don't use them. It just clutters up space. Now, this sidebar, again, is modifiable. But keep in mind, the options that agents see will differ based on space setup. So if my team has not enabled the operations feature, that just doesn't exist. And that's where this individual called a space admin is really important to know. They are the manager or administrator of your space, and they can turn these features on or off. We're not going to talk about how that's done here because agents don't need to worry about that. But it can be frustrating for agents if you go into one space and you see ops, and you go into another space and you don't see operations. Justin is saying the old search wasn't the greatest. There have been a lot of updates to search. It is now more useful, but yes. And just as a reminder, they call their search filters, which still drives me crazy. That's just what it's called. This is our reminder to teleport into Jira. So here we are in Cloud Premium, and we're staring at Confluence, so I need to move us over to Jira. Boop. A quick reminder, please hit the like button on this if you like it. Subscribe if you haven't to get all those updates. And that QR code under my head is the companion course. That is entirely free. Of course, I highly recommend it. I made it. But it's going to have quizzes around this session. It's going to have homework for you to go follow along. It's going to have explainers around this content. So here we are in Jira. Now, one thing to remember around the list of spaces, there are different types of spaces. So for the purposes of the 925, we just want the service management. So I'm going to filter this actually. And to find this, I just clicked on spaces. More spaces, and view all spaces. But just as a reminder that there can be one or many service management JSM spaces. This can make it hard for agents to figure out where to go, depending on how you're set up. In the large environment I worked in, every agent was in the same space. That made it easy, but I've been in many. So you can just star these things. Just click on the little star icon. So this is a great way to remember or easily find kind of favorites. You can see that starred list update here. It also gets updated here. You can also star filters. So when we talk about searching, remember you can star them and save them, and same thing with dashboards. Excuse me. Now, navigating through space, easy. We just click on it to open it up. Excuse me. And then I get a list of everything in it. Ooh, they've added AI agents. We can see this is new. I don't think there's too much around AI on the 925. Again, it was last refreshed when Rovo was very early, or we had Atlassian Intelligence, so just going to get ahead of that. But you won't see questions around like agents or chat or Gen AI really. It's going to focus you on the features around just JSM. And here I've fallen into a queue. We'll talk more about queues, I think, in the next session, but this is a way to organize work. And this is the kind of screen that most agents will be hanging out on most of the time. So this is something that when I work with agents, I just show them one and I kind of tell them, hey, this is your homepage. Put a bookmark, favorite the queue or star the queue so you can easily find it. And then again, everything I see over here within the space can differ based on the setup. I cannot remove items from the space. I lied. I can hide items from the space. You can tell I haven't looked into that. So this is another thing that I recommend folks go in and if they don't use some of these options, just hide them. EC Moore, do I train on GitLab? I do not, my friend, but if that's something you're interested in learning and let me know, I'll see what I can find or who I can find for you. My top bar, I mentioned notifications, and I always forget to talk about these, but this little gear at the top, if you click on it, most people will not see everything I see. I'm a space admin. I see a lot of stuff. I'm going to go to notification settings, and these are important settings. They will default to everyone, and I'm showing you this because I was never shown. Notifications do show up on our exam, but this is one of the complaints around any system, the number of emails, etc. I get. Again, they default based on what your Jira admin has set, the person who administers all of Jira. They are an important person to know, one, that they exist, and two, what they can do. They configure the Jira instance. So you have a space admin who manages your space, but even they can't do everything. There's another individual, a Jira admin. As agents, we probably don't interact too much with them. We just need to know they exist and that they control things like these defaults. In many cases, though, we can go change the defaults. For example, if I don't want to get emails every 3 minutes, I might want them every hour or something else. More importantly, though, at the bottom are all of these buttons. I won't dig into too much detail about what they all do. Just know that you can turn them off or on if they annoy you. Keep in mind, though, if you're turning off your notifications, you don't get notified about things, and that can be really, really bad. You can set up notifications by project as well. So you might have some general settings to not get notifications when a work item is created, but get it for just one particular space. So please keep notifications in mind, and you as agents have the ability to override the defaults that the space or that the Jira admin has set. Another important thing are hotkeys. If you hit Shift ? On your keyboard, you'll get this menu. We don't have to memorize these, just know that they exist and over time start to use them. I don't think there's explicit questions on our exam around hotkeys. They just make it easier to use the system. So I always show people this exists, Shift ? Excuse me. And then in the search bar at the top. This search is called the quick search. So if you're looking for help on it or if you see a question on use the quick search, it is the quick way to find stuff. It supports a text search. So if I type in password, it's going to look for work items with the word password on them. Or if I type in kudos, it'll find work items with the... I just lied to you all. I'm sorry. Why did it not find that? There we go. If I type in the word kudos, it should find stuff. But then if I hit enter, it'll run an actual search for that. So a quick way to find stuff, you can access this with a / button. There are questions around searching on the exam, so please keep that in mind, especially around, because again, the focus on this exam is around the agent experience. How does an individual agent quickly find and get work done? So that's a quick reminder on our navigation. That's also something that is habit. So as you're working with agents or as you are learning it, the more time you have in the system, the easier it will be for you to use them. I've got a quick poll I'm just going to drop in the chat. Justin's saying something that carried over from Legacy Search. Justin's been in Jira for a while and does a lot of work with IT teams or support teams as I understand it. So he's a good wealth of knowledge for stuff like this. I'm going to take a very quick coffee break, but while I'm doing that, consider how do requests and work items relate to each other. Not really a trick question, but more of a, what are these things? I will also shout out my coffee sponsors. I have folks who are members of my YouTube channel who have decided to sponsor me. So I buy coffee thanks to them. And when I meet them in person, I buy them a coffee as a thank you. And then as the reminder, because I am a professional YouTuber, please like and subscribe. Request is for customer, work items are for agents. Justin, I thought you were answering the question. Asha's got it. Now, in Jira, you'll hear me use the term ticket. That's also what I call a work type. So you'll hear me use those interchangeably, or a work item, I'm sorry. Now, work items are what agents see. So they are the ticket within Jira. They are what you use if you're just in Jira managing projects. And they are all classified as a work type. For example, there's a work type that might be called service request. There might be one called incident. There might be one called bug. And they can be anything at all. Jira comes with some default ones out of the box, but your team, your admins can change that. They can make new ones. They can modify them. The thing to know about a work type is it has a unique process it follows, a workflow. So a series of steps. When an incident comes in, the first step is triage. After it's triage, it has to be reviewed. After it's reviewed, it has to be worked on. After it's worked on, it has to be done. A discrete series of stages it moves through called statuses. So that's a work type. And that kind of defines the fields and settings for a work item. Now, keep in mind that work types can have I'm babbling here. Work types will have many work items, but a work type is connected to a request. It is possible for a work type to not have any requests. This is what we see in Jira, or if you're doing internal work. It is possible for a work type to have multiple request types, and it's possible for it to only have one. Madhumitha, you got it. The request is what the customer sees. Ooh, excuse me. So anytime you hear the word request, know that's, this is what the customer is entering or working on. When you hear work item, that's what the agent sees and works on. It is possible, though, in Jira, depending on how your team has set it up, for one work type to have multiple requests. And this is because the customer doesn't care how your team classifies work. They just need help. For example, in IT, I might have request a laptop, fix a laptop, and request a monitor. And those are the requests that the customer can put in, but the agent just sees hardware. The agent sees all that information, but this allows us to change the customer experience based on what they're requesting. Now, the request types allow us to organize those incoming requests. Now, they are tied to one and only one work type. So if I have a request a laptop request, it's connected to a single work type, hardware. And the requests are what the customer sees. And we'll see this when we go into a customer portal. You have probably worked with a request type and not even noticed, but it's the thing you see when you go to a Jira portal to enter a ticket. It's that interface, that form you have to fill out. And now we've got the Justins yelling at each other. Sorry. It took me a minute to realize they were both in here too. I acknowledge you're separate people. But especially for the purpose of the exam, we need to understand that requests are customer facing and they allow the admin to change what the customer sees, but work items are internal facing, and typically a space admin cannot change work types. They'll have to work with a Jira admin to do that. Excuse me as I cough here. Just another question, a 1 to 4. How comfortable are you with Jira's organization? And another quick shout out to my Discord group. I believe both the Justins are in there, yelling at each other over who's the real Justin. But feel free to join us, about 300 folks talking about Atlassian stuff, but also other topics. We do have some experts on APIs and programming. I forget who asked about GitLab, or one of the Gits, excuse me. You might find some good information in there. So that's the request work type. Again, request external, work type internal. Within Jira, though, we've got this thing called a space. I've mentioned this term a lot. This is just a way to organize work items. Every work item has to be in a space and only one space. Typically, teams, especially on the support side, will organize this around the team. If it's internally facing, for example, human resources might have a space just called human resources support, and that's where all the human resources requests go. If it's external, you might have one based around customer. So Heen Tech might be a customer. They might have a space and all their stuff goes in there. It's just again, think of it like a big bucket or a box that all of the stuff related to one topic goes into. Now that's internal. Externally, we have a portal, and this is where the customer puts in their requests. What we're seeing in this screenshot, and we'll get into this live, these are my requests. I've got one called Get IT Help. This is a bit of a joke. I'm going to put there's a phrase on this screenshot, PEBCAC, PEBCAC. I'm curious if folks know what that means. Or support, report broken hardware. All the customer knows is, hey, I need IT help. I'm going to click on that. So this is how, or the types of things we offer for support. The customer doesn't know which work type these report to. Maybe these two are the same. Maybe this one's different. It doesn't matter. The point here is we're tailoring it to the customer. Agents do need to understand what the requests are because that will give them information about what's going on. And that can also change what information the customer gives them. So from ticket to ticket, the agent will get different information based on the request fields that were filled out. Now, work item I've talked about quite a bit. I won't talk about it too much more. I lied, I probably will. But it's what the agent sees in Jira. It contains all the information that the customer has put in, as well as other information the system might have added. And this is the source of truth for that one request. So if Justin puts in a complaint that someone else is logging in as him in our network, that would be a work item, and then everything I know about it should be there. This would include all the work the agent does. This would include comments from the customer or back and forth. This would include internal comments from other team members. The goal with the individual work item is everything about that request is right on that thing, so the agent can then solve it. Okay, PEBCAC stands for Problem Exists Between Computer and Share. Madhumitha, you nailed it. People explain bakers cooking all crows. What? And can you remind us what a picnic is? I know you have told me before, and it always slips my mind. Now, in quotes here, I have the actual definition of a request, but it's how a work item is represented to a customer. Again, this is the customer's view of that thing. It's what the customer submits, and space admins can tailor what it looks like. So this is another big difference and a thing that we as agents have to understand. The names of fields can be changed on the request to be more customer appropriate or easier to approach. The statuses that they see could have different names. There can be helper text. There can be help desk articles. There can be links. The goal with the request is to make it as easy as possible to get information from the customer. So when we get the ticket, we have everything we need. But this can be confusing for agents because the customer may say, hey, I filled in a browser field, and the agent sees a field with a different name. So please keep that in mind as well. The experience will be different. I briefly mentioned queues, but these are collections of work items. So this is another structure in Jira. It only is in Jira Service Management. We don't see it in regular Jira, but it's a collection of work items. Now it's defined by the space admin. So I as an agent cannot change a queue. I can't reorder the columns. I can't add new fields. All I can do is look at it pretty much. I can filter it and I can order it. That's it. The goal with a queue is to focus agents on a specific thing. I might have a queue for, high priority executive escalations. I might have a queue just for folks in Brazil. I might have a queue just for high priority tickets, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. How they're used depends on my team and what they need to get out of Jira. The chat is sharing a lot of non-Jira information. Justin, you got to explain what an ID10T error is for folks, because that's really going to confuse people. I feel like I need to do a follow-up session just on IT acronyms. Let me put that in chat for y'all. Queues are typically, though, where I as an agent spend most of my time. I do this because it gives me the next thing I should work on. And there's some trust here with my admin, but typically my admin says, hey, Rob, focus on this open queue. That's what you need to worry about. There's other work in Jira. There's a lot of other stuff happening, but queues give us the ability to focus our work. I said focus a lot. But it's really important because we can have different queues for different teams or individuals, but we can then tell them, hey, just worry about what's in here. Don't worry about the rest of the stuff. And that takes a lot of the burden off agents. You're going to spend a lot of time talking about queues, thinking about queues, exploring queues. So please get used to queues. All right, we're going to pop back into our Jira. All right, folks. I am apparently going to do a follow-up on IT acronyms. I will need help coming up with acronyms. Please reach out to me if you've got some fun ones. We are back in Jira, and first thing we're going to do is go find our support space. Where did it go? I don't want IT operations. I think this one's good enough. Now, when I open up this space, you'll see a lot of options. There should be one called channels. Channel refers to any way a work item can get into Jira. It's possible through email. There's the portal. There's a widget. There's chat. Great. I'm going to go through the portal. I'll just click open. This is what customers see when they put in a ticket. There is a thing above a portal called a help desk. I won't talk too much about that because it doesn't really impact the 925. Excuse me. But this is a link I would give my customers. This would be in our wiki. This would be in emails. This would be everywhere to help guide them. Now, what we're seeing here are called request groups. So these aren't individual requests. This is just a grouping of everything that my admin thought is a common request. And within that, I have individual requests a customer could have. Keep in mind the request group does not appear on the ticket anywhere. All it is used for is to show people groupings of tickets on this portal. So from here, I can go in and then pick the request I want. I have a system issue, great. As a customer, I would then fill this out. Now, what I'm seeing here has been defined by my admin. There might be more fields on this underlying request. So I'm going to go put in a ticket. I found an issue with my picnic. It has too many ants. And one interesting thing you're seeing is there are articles showing up. This is a connection to Confluence, the collaboration platform knowledge base, but it's grabbing what I've typed in and basically searching for me. The goal here, it's called ticket deflection. Maybe this answers my question, then I don't have to put in a ticket. Agents also have access to the knowledge base. We'll talk about this, I think, in the next session, but agents can use the knowledge base directly from Jira to go look up information. Really important to know about because it saves us having to go open Confluence, type in a search, and go look for things. Let's pretend none of those helped. I'm going to keep filling this out. There's a customer support service that was impacted. It's a moderate impact. I'll say it's a low urgency. Maybe I add an attachment, but then I'll click send. It is important for agents to understand the customer experience. So one, you understand it, but two, it gives you a little bit more understanding and empathy into what goes through here. This can be frustrating for customers. So I always make sure my agents go put in a test ticket just so they can see it. But after submission, this is all a customer sees. You'll see they get their original ticket, they have comments, and then a limited amount of information. Keep in mind that the status is pulled from the workflow on the underlying work type, but my admin might change this name just for the customer. So it's possible that on the work item, it says open, but for the customer, it says pending support or some other phrase. The thing to remember as an agent is that stuff here can be tailored to make it more approachable and easier for a customer to use. Now, because I have agent and Jira access, I see this. So I'm just going to open this up. And this will now show me that work item from the agent's view. This is what agents mostly work on. You'll notice right away, my friend Rovo is jumping in and giving me ideas. This is not going to be on the exam, I don't think. But if your organization uses Rovo, you're going to start to see AI poking in the different spots to help us out. And of course, yes, thank you, Slack. You can go away now. Now, what we get out of AI and search in anything is dependent on our setup. One of the biggest frustrations I have as an agent is when I go look for help articles, I can't find them because they're not set up well. So keep in mind a lot of the underlying stuff that happens in here is based on other teams, other groups, but we as agents still have to know how the feature works. Now, right away, I can see a ton of differences. The information is shown in different spots. I see fields here. I see a whole bunch of extra boxes, changes on affected services and asset objects and details and suggestions and SLAs. So there's a lot more the agent sees on the work item. Some important things to know, they'll all have a summary. This is what the customer typed in. They all have a key or a ticket number. In this case, it's ITO-925. The ITO is the space it's in. It's called the space key. IT operations in this case, it could be any combination of letters. They typically are short. This box here is my workflow or my status. The customer will see the current status. They might not see the same name though. For example, My admin might have changed pending to say in progress, just so customers don't freak out that oh, it's pending. What does that mean? But this is how I, as an agent, indicate to the team what's going on. We'll talk more about that with working on tickets. Wow, it is just the morning. This work item, though, should also show up in a queue somewhere. And those live in the project under queues. And I have a list of all of these queues. I'm going to go to all open tickets, and I'll see if I can find this picnic ticket. Okay, there's a lot of stuff in this queue. I can search through this. I can't change what's in it as an agent, but I can try and search. And here I found that one thing. Please show your agents this. Please remember this. Queues can get big, and they should be organized. Like the most importantest thing should be way up at the top. But this is how agents will go and dig through queues to find the next thing they should do. Queues should be the main way they find work because they've been set up by the admin, they have all the appropriate information, and they allow easy access to the next most important thing. In this case, I'm seeing work items that have breached their service level agreement, or SLA. We'll talk about SLAs as we go. But that is a quick overview of request to work item, our navigation, and then what queues look like. All right, I'm going to add another question. And most of us set a 2 for JSM's organization. The biggest thing to take away from that is there are things called work items. They live in a space. They have to live in one and only one space. And then there's a request that the customer sees that connects to one and only one work item. But work types can have multiple requests associated with them. I've got a new poll for us. And just how well do you understand access? I got to type faster. Beep, beep. 2, 3, 4. All right. And it's the same 1 to 4. Also, if there's questions, please drop them in. Last thing I see is talking about the ID10T error, which, of course, if you write down, says the word idiot. That would not be something I would tell a customer, by the way. I would keep that internal to IT as you're complaining about stuff. But access in Jira, from an agent standpoint, is both frustrating and really easy. You can't do much about it. There's a term you'll find called permissions. Permissions define what you can do in Jira Service Management. For example, there is a permission called Browse Projects. If you don't have this permission, you can't see projects. Easy. There's a permission called Administer Projects. If you don't have this, you can't be an admin. There's a whole lot more. Your Jira admin controls these. So this isn't your space admin. This is the person above them who manages all of Jira. Just know, just know that these exist. The browse permission could show up on the exam. That's a common one that Atlassian likes to pull out. If someone can't open a ticket or can't see a space, even if they have a license, it might be because they're missing that permission. I trip over this all the time when I talk to groups who actually use JSM. They just forget to include someone with that permission, and then they can't see anything. Justin is screaming in the chat. I wouldn't even put ID10T in an internal comment, just in case someone reviews it later. I would say this out loud to a human next to me that I trust. Just know that permissions exist, and that browse permission is one that I have asked admins about that has solved a lot of problems. So those are permissions. Permissions can be bundled together into something called a role. Now, there's a generic term for this, role-based access control, and a role could be administrator. A role could be collaborator. A role could be service team. A role could be QA analyst. A role could be reviewer, whatever it needs. Jira comes with some out of the box. Just know that these roles allow for easier administration and management of access. Roles can be assigned by a space admin. So when you join a team, an admin might have to give you the agent role, the service desk team role that gives you access as an agent. And this is what allows space admins to control their space. They can't change permissions. They can assign roles. There are 3 roles that are important for us. One is administrator. This is your space admin. We just have to know they exist and they can help us with problems. Next is collaborator. Collaborators are individuals in Jira who don't have a JSM license, but have a Jira license. This allows them to internally comment and assist on tickets, but they can't talk to customers. And last, we've got the service desk team. This is the agent. They can talk to customers and do everything in JSM. There's some others. You see service desk customer, for example. But really, service desk team, collaborator, and admin are the three big ones that we need to know. These admins manage all the configuration. They set up your queues. They assign roles. They turn features on and off. They typically know more about Jira just based on what they do, and they should really be one of your best friends, just because they can help you. I've learned a ton from space admins. They've also saved me a lot of headache and trouble because they can explain things or help me do things. They can't always do what I want, but at least they can explain how it works and why they can or can't do it. For the purposes of the exam, they configure the request types. So they are responsible for configuring requests for customers and for building our queues. Next, we have the agents. I tried to find a good stock photo of an agent, and this is what it gave me. They work on tickets. So anyone who responds to a support desk ticket is an agent, at least by this definition. This does require a license. So this is a separate license from Jira. So if you're working on this and if you bring new agents on, you need a specific license in JSM. This could also show up on the exam. Why can't you work on tickets? Oh, I don't have a license. And then we've got customers. So these are the folks who are putting in tickets. They are typically limited to adding their own requests and commenting on them, and they can optionally be shared on other requests. For example, if Justin puts in a request over his laptop broke, he might share it with his manager, the other Justin, just so he can see what's going on. But they can't really change fields on tickets. They can comment, but they can't change values. And they can't see the queues and other stuff. It is possible that you are both a customer and an agent. In my HR example, I was both. I helped answer tickets, but I would also put some in. Very uncommon, though. Then I mentioned collaborators. These are non-agent internal users. So these are folks who have a Jira license, but not a Jira Service Management license. Collaborators have limited access. They can add attachments that you can see, internal comments, but they can't talk to customers. So imagine you get a software bug as an agent and you don't know what to do next. You might comment to a collaborator, hey, Anne, help me out. I know you have access to these logs, and they might give you information. And then you talk to the customer. So you can pull in people who don't have that JSM license and still get help and information. Justin, I still haven't seen you both in the same room. So as far as I'm concerned, you're still one person. Now, this is an important thing that I mentioned. Agents require a license, a role, and product access in order to see work items. This question does show up, or some version of it. Just keep in mind that in order to be an agent, you need three separate things. You have to have that browse projects permission, a role that gives you agent access in the space, and a license in order to be an agent. So it's not just as simple as giving someone a role. There's other things that have to be true. This is less common for agents to have to deal with. However, you will probably run into this at some point, someone complaining that they can't work on tickets and they should be able to. This would be what to check. Are they licensed? Do they have the appropriate role? And do they have product access? So 3 things your admin has to worry about. Back into Jira real quick. I've got a few more minutes, so I'll talk more about like collaborators. And I'll just pick on this. Collaborators will see this screen. So they'll see everything the agent sees. However, they'll have different options. They will not see reply to customer. They'll just have add internal note. And I don't think they can transition. So they'll be able to come in and add information to this ticket or work with you to solve it. But they can't take other steps to talk to individuals. Excuse me. And then I'll go back to my portal. I think it's here. I mentioned customers can share work items. This is dependent on space settings, what they can do, but they could click share and type in, let's say I want to share this with admin. Admin will now get access to this screen. So it doesn't show them what the agent sees, it shows them the request. So I'll try to be as clear as I can. This is the request. So when I say request, this is the screen I talk about. The request has a request type. Customers only get to see the request, and it's how they interact with the ticket. Anne is saying collaborators can't do much at all. Question from Susan. If you have a license and are an agent, do you also need to be given the customer role? Not unless you need to put in tickets, Susan. Now, I need to back up. Customer access, and I'll double check this. I'll do a recap video. I'll talk about that in a minute. gives you access to this. Agents can hit create and then make a ticket and give it a request type. So this isn't on the exam, but you'll notice there's a request type field right here. So an agent could put in a request for themselves without going through the portal. This is also a way agents can enter tickets for someone else. I try not to ever do this. My own personal philosophy is if Susan has a challenge, they should put in the ticket because they know the most about it. I even don't like it when managers put in tickets for their team. I say, no. Justin has this problem. Make Justin go do it. But you can put in tickets for other folks. This does not require customer access, this method. Okay, now next steps. I've mentioned a lot in here. Please use that free companion course. It's right down there. It's got quizzes, it's got labs, it's got takeaway, it's got homework. The intention there is it's somewhere for you to go where you can get support, you can share ideas, and you can explore Jira and get hands-on. I'll put another link in the chat. Why can't I paste into chat? That is really annoying. There we go. Please study on your own. If you want to pass this exam, 4 hours isn't really enough time, please make sure you're getting hands-on. This recording will be available from YouTube. Just one of the Justins had asked, is this good for other team members? I would say yes. Keep in mind, I have the banter. I talk to folks in chat. We're talking about PEBCACs and ID10Ts, which are not the exam. So you might want a more focused experience. That is totally fair. This is what you get in the free live sessions, though. I find it to be more interesting and engaging and fun. That's my personal opinion. But I will have other resources, including a fully recorded live course, probably the next month or so. Next week's session is January 23rd. Same time, same place. We'll be talking about working with tickets. I'm going to drop one more poll. One other thing I just started doing is I will have a recap video for this session next week. I need your help on when the recap should be published. And let me change this question. I'm experimenting with doing it the morning of, so right before this we would all watch it together and then jump into the next session. But I'm going to quickly put in a poll. My thinking is right before this session, we all watch it together live, we can comment on it, and then we just jump into the new content. I want your opinions, though. When should I do a recap? It would be like a 5-minute video that quickly talks about all these things at a high level, just so we remember what happened, and then we jump into the next week's content. That recap would also be included in the course. Now, if I do it Fridays, it would be at like 6:20 a.m., so 10 minutes before our regular start time. And it would be a YouTube premiere. We'd all watch it together. We could comment to each other, and then we would jump right into the live session. So let me know what you think about that. Again, my goal is to make this useful and beneficial for everyone. And I'm seeing some fighting. Also, email me, robert@heen.tech. Check out my site. I've got loads of learning stuff there. But please remember, you're not alone in learning. I want to thank you for trusting me with an hour of your time. I've got a lot of other resources. Check me out in Discord. Go find me on LinkedIn. But please keep reaching out with what you need. And I'm really hoping we can get some of us to pass the 925. I'll talk more about scheduling it, but start to think about taking it in maybe mid-February. Maybe in 3 or 4 weeks, we can get you there. If you're practicing, if you're doing the follow-ups, if you're doing your homework. It is all on you. So write down that why, record it. Reach out for help. Let me know how I can help support you. So far, Fridays are winning. So I'll get a recap together. And I do want all of your feedback on this. So I'm going to do another quick poll. And I don't know the difference between good and amazing. But that's all I had for today. So that was an introduction to this to understand what the exam's about and some basic concepts. Biggest takeaways, we've got requests and work items and work types. And then we've got customers, collaborators, admins, and agents. This is all just good practical knowledge. Madhumitha, you're welcome. Thank you for coming. Asha, thank you for saying it's amazing. Justin's saying you don't need both roles. So as an agent, you don't need to have customer and agent. Excuse me. Although, Justin, it would be interesting because your Jira admin could set the permissions as an agent to be mutually exclusive. I don't know why you would do that. But typically, if you're an agent, you can see and do everything a customer can do, but it won't break anything if you have both. It's just another thing. Barrett, you're welcome, my friend. Susan, you're screaming at me. It's great. I love that. All right, folks. Thank you so much for joining me. Again, this will be available, the recording. Please share it with your team if it's helpful. You can also send them to specific timestamps in it. I don't right now have the bandwidth to go through and put chapters in the live sessions because I do 4 or 5 or 6 of these a week. But please go through and mine them. Optimus Prime, you're welcome. You're like my childhood hero. Justin, that might be a fun thing to tinker with a Discord, like show people how to cripple their JSM instance by doing stuff like that. And I will see about putting together a course on IT acronyms, and this might just be a fun interactive live session, just as a giggle. Please also be on the lookout for other live sessions I'm doing. I will share a link in the chat to a calendar I am maintaining of all my live sessions. It includes every live stream I'm doing, including the 925 and other sessions. I'm doing some through Atlassian that are called Getting Started With that can be useful for new folks. I will put that here. But that includes everything, and that is a huge, ugly link that I cannot easily share. Let me shrink that. I don't want to have to... I just need a link shortener. And of course, if you haven't, like and subscribe, and please sign up for the free course. And I'm trying to do 12 things at once, and that's always a bad idea. There we go. That calendar link will take you to Google Calendar. You can get an access to all my live sessions, including these. And then on my site, you can sign up to get regular reminders about these. So you also get set up with emails if you sign up for more information on these courses. I send out reminders on Mondays and then follow-up messages midweek with more information. All right, folks, I want to thank you all for taking time to come learn with me. I really appreciate that you are trusting me with your time. I hope it was well spent. And please have a good day wherever you are. I'm looking forward to seeing you next week, and it looks like we'll be doing the recaps before these on Fridays, so be on the lookout for that. So thanks again. Have a great week, and I'll see you all again soon.